what I've noticed in different schools is that there are assignments in history and maybe some science classes that you're writing newspapers or you're creating a newsreel, and I understand why folks do those sorts of assignments, or comics or something like that. I understand why people do those types of assignments, but I'm not sure the long-term learning objectives. And this one that I'm going to showcase today, I think has a long-term effect. Now, I used to assign it. I actually assigned it in my college classes. I also assigned it to middle schoolers, and the middle schoolers were able to really quickly work with this. The college students, so many of them were unable to use technology and computers well enough to use this, to me, very simple tool. And that's when I thought one of the value adds could be showing this off to younger grades, so that they're kind of prepared for it. Because for me, it was an expectation as their instructor that they had these skills, and I was very surprised when they did that. So I want to showcase this platform, Google Public Data, and I think, as opposed to no adult's gonna mock a newsreel or something. I mean, I guess they would, but not really for any educational purposes. But if we're trying to teach our students, look, there are tools to find information for different things. Data sets are one of them, and Google Public Data, it's kind of like the equivalent of Google Earth Engine that I've showed in a few of the past videos, but not for satellite imagery or images of the Earth, but for metrics. And for that reason, it's definitely easier than working with code, for instance. But there's still some real intricacies. For what it's worth, I used to assign a paper in which students would explore the data set, create some data products, and write a short paper about the data here. And that's because it's not, there is the typical data you'll see here. And by the way, all I did was type in Google Public Data. World development, minimum wage, unemployment. Let's just explore further. So, but we'll just hop right in by clicking right on the map. And you see this is actually an animated map. There's no way to export it as a video or anything, so you'd have to do like screen record or something. But check this out. You have from 1963 data on the fertility rate and life expectancy. These are all countries, and they're colored by the region they're in. And you can see, obviously, a world trend with a lower fertility rate. Obviously, you have some outliers, and there's a regional, right, sub-Saharan Africa trend, but there's a global trend as well. And a nice thing that they have is if you click here and you go straight to more info, it'll show you exactly where they grab that data set. So in this case, for instance, the World Bank. In this case, I think also, the World Bank. But a very easy interface. I'm going to go one by one. I'll start with the easiest and then work my way through. But you can see up here the charts that they have. And here are, so you can have a line chart, a bar chart. You can have a map. You could also have a bubble or more. That's a scatter plot. Here you have ways to format the y-axis, so you could do it on a log scale. I think some people know what that is just because of the COVID situation. But if you have any questions about that, just write in the comments. I'll try to address it. It takes a little bit long time to, I think, sufficiently explain. But there you can, just kind of change these settings. I don't know what the show trails option is, but might peek around. Anyway, here are the data sets that you can choose from, and there are several, and there are some interesting ones here. I don't know what this is. Okay, so newborn, for instance, health. In the public sector, you have government debt, armed forces personnel, tax revenue. That might be a little bit much for a high school student, but you have poverty. The don't know if they say Gini. Yeah, I think it's Gini index, right? The inequality index, and that's something that I think a high schooler could understand well. You have birth rates, and these are the type of things that you cover in, for instance, a social studies, social science class, that you can study with data through the scientific method for a proper social science analysis. Anyway, if we start over here, you have, for instance, the fertility rate, and it's done we can compare by the world or region, and I can click, for instance, all of these, and it's going to show the change in fertility rate. So this, obviously you're looking at a regional, and then, I can succinctly put, I can put world here, and that'll be the average. That's my assumption. So if I wanted to change it from fertility rate to, let's see, hospital beds. Okay, and you can see the data ends at 2010. It would be interesting to see this post-COVID. Now, I'm so curious about, so this is per 1,000 people, why there are so much fewer hospital beds. Maybe people are just getting healthier. I could probably look more into that. Or even, there you go, life expectancy is kind of an easy one to grab onto. And obviously, throughout the world, life expectancy has increased. I mean, the interesting thing that a student could certainly write a paper about is which ones have increased the most. So it's a 20-year difference versus it's almost a 20-year difference as well. But I think that would be a very interesting paper and well complemented by a little data analysis. So I think so for the line charts that they have, this is a temporal analysis. So from 1960 or wherever, for instance, you're either studying or interested in. This little dip here is interesting. So why did this stay the same? Oh, it might be. Oh, I'm not sure. I almost thought the Rwandan genocide around here, but that wouldn't bring down all of sub-Saharan Africa's. Unless there was only data from Rwanda, for instance. Here's an interesting one, immunization. So anyway, you're looking only at dates available. So this one only goes, for instance, from 1980, but it looks like it goes past 2010. Again, you can kind of look in here. Look at that. Wow, South Asia. Anyway, so this is for if you're doing a temporal analysis. You go to a bar chart if you're going to kind of do a comparative analysis. And of course, before in this line chart, y-axis, I always like to identify it as the axis of change, because that's where you're seeing these changes, right? The x-axis, what is changing are the years and the effect we're seeing for multiple factors is this immunization. But if we go to the bar charts, here's where I think if you want to compare regionally, for instance, or even if you only want to compare by country, let's do that. And here I think you're going to get all the countries. Oh, look, this one is... Oh, the income level. Interesting. So let's say color by income level. Interesting. So, and then you can isolate the income level in here. And you could, if you only wanted to see, for instance, if you want to highlight Armenia, for instance. But you could also change and only put in, for instance, let's look up European countries and see these high immunization rates and these lower ones, upper middle income. So there might be a relation. No, it doesn't. I don't think you would find a statistical relationship here, but this is just kind of on the fly, and if you poke around a little bit more, you might see some different. Here might be a really interesting one. Physicians per 1,000 people. Here you have not a full data set. I guess we only have from Norway, Italy, Iceland. Yeah. That might be even something you talk about, because there might be some data sets, maybe not this one per se, or I guess if I change this to all, maybe I'll find, there's not even that many. But if I only did it, let's see, compare only they were in Latin America. Okay, why is and you can see by chart you have Argentina. Whoa, pretty cool one. So you can also have the x-axis change, and it looks like here that you're getting a lot more data. So this data set might be more specifically for Latin America, although if I change to Europe, maybe I just had missed that. Okay, so looks like in 2017 they didn't have the full data set, but by like 1995 they did. And yeah, something to, obviously I kind of overlooked that at first, but a pretty neat way to create something with data. You have to come up with, obviously, interpretations, and there's just honestly so much interesting data to work with. Literacy rate, I think, is always a really interesting one. Here, I guess here's one where you have to pick other options. So sometimes I would have students who'd be like, I clicked on literacy rate, nothing came up. I'm like, oh, well, you have to check these other things. So for instance, here, let's check the literacy rate of 10 to 14-year-olds. And I'll just look for, I guess this is going to do for both. And I am going to change it from here to here, and then I'm going to color by the region. Okay, so here you have, some of this might be banal to some extent, but I'm going to put all. So we're at 2016. Where's North American countries? Oh, see, North America's not on here. Something to think about. But if you're only looking, let's see if it comes in no, it's never, which is a strange metric not to have. But what I will say, so these are data sets, the world development indicators. There are also data sets like United States. Oops. Let's just go there. Oh, this is just select on there. I could also look up some data sets don't even. So this one's, for instance, from the Michigan Department of Education. And, this is obviously very specific. I know nothing about all of these counties. But you can analyze on here. And I don't know how to upload data. Here's New York City, which I might know it a little bit more. The different districts, okay. But you can make, obviously, more localized if you find some data sets on here. Looks like you can also have my data sets, and you can upload some data sets. So maybe I'll make a new video about that soon. But right now, I think Google Public Data is got a wealth of data, especially for kind of classroom purposes. And sometimes when you get to uploading data, there are some things that make it a little bit complicated. So for right now, for the rest of the video, I'll just try to rein it in and focus on what is available. And already I think you can kind of see the value, because here you have a graph, and a student can easily write a nice paper about regional trends across the globe in literacy rate. And you could say, obviously, that Europe has the highest levels of literacy rate, and what are the reasons that sub-Saharan Africa have such lower rates of literacy. Obviously, you have this interesting Middle Eastern and Latin American kind of interface over here. Anyway, that is with the bar chart. You can also y-axis. Oh no, I guess I thought you could also label. Am I wrong? This might have changed a little bit since now you can send a link of this particular graph. You see this here. And so I guess if you wanted to, I said you can make a video, but you could also, for instance, just send that link. That would be another easy way to export these charts. I thought there was a way to label them, but I might be mistaken. I'll try to clear that up in the comments if I am indeed incorrect. Okay, so the next one, the map. Now, obviously I like maps for a lot of reasons, but what I think is the most interesting, first of all, here you don't need to color by region, because let's color by this, and even though this is, they're going to be, because of geography, regional trends, you already have them laid out on the map, so you don't need to color by region, for instance. So here, what we can do is, for instance, let's look at, let's go back to literacy rate since it was there, and I can change that to the color of the map. Again, I have to choose age, 10 to 14, color. So here, and here we can even make a movie of literacy rate. And right now, size is over age student. Okay, I'm not even sure what exactly that means, but let's change it from literacy rate to, let's do a health, adolescent fertility rate, okay? So where it's large, let's just do fertility rate. There we go. And here you can kind of equalize it a bit. But there we go. That's a little bit better. So here, well, that's impossible to see, honestly, so it's not a little bit better. Here, I don't know if we have a relatively low literacy rate. Obviously, we're getting higher. Remember, this is a relative scale, so even though it said light earlier, that's something to make note of. That's 5 to 61%, which is obviously a huge range. And I don't think there's a way to change the symbology of those colors, but maybe things will evolve. So if we, so that makes it kind of hard to look at 1978 because it's probably under 60%. But if we change over here, and again, look over here, that looks like it is in this lower rung, but there's no data. So, something the student's going to have to bear in mind. Now, the fertility rates are highest you have in sub-Saharan Africa, East Asia. You could zoom in, for instance, and see a little bit better. It's not really giving me exactly what I want. I wonder if there's anything quick I could change it with. Life expectancy. Let's change that. Okay. That's also going to be, well. Okay, so the life expectancy, now we see the European countries a little bit higher and darker blue. Okay. And, that might change through some really, and you might only decide to look regional and change these a little bit more. But again, you can link to right here, and you can even put in an HTML within a website. So you know what I'll do? I will include 4 charts that I make on the blog for people to mess around with, and I'm hopeful that the time slider will allow for it, but no promises. Now, this is the last thing I'll show, and this is, remember that example, but here you're seeing growth life expectancy, a growth in literacy rate. Great. We can, let's change environment. Let's look at like CO2 emissions. And disaster risk reduction, no. Droughts, flood. This might get a little too complicated. I'm not sure that I should go down this path. Let's just go to the one they were showing earlier, which was, because really to make a nice one of these, you have to kind of look through, think about relationships, and I think that's kind of the value of learning. You know, this might get a laugh out of students, but this is a global health issue. You know, or you know, not necessarily just diarrhea, but if it's a result of disease or malaria or what have you, you know, these metrics are, I mean, female genital mutilation, huge topic, might draw some student to really investigate this and find out things a little bit more. So this is the way data kind of can guide things. Okay, let's change this, the fertility rate again, and let's change, that doesn't have a relationship, I'm sure. This to education. Let's even just change it to completion rate. Education levels. Let's see. They only have primary on the x-axis. So over here, you have countries with low primary school completion rates. Here you're seeing a fertility rate. Oh, so actually here you have, you're looking at four different, metrics, which is a whammy. You have the literacy rate by color, the size related to life expectancy, and the fertility rate and completion rate of primary school. So I think some interesting charts that can lend to some interesting papers. It's a free tool. There's work that can be done. This could be done in the classroom. It can be done as an assignment. I think there's a lot of value to it, and you know, I hope that I've kind of demonstrated that. Thank you very much for watching these videos. If you have any questions, just hop in the comments. Like I said, I'll try to link some charts to the blog so that you can kind of mess around with them and think about them. But thank you very much, and you know, comment if you have any questions. And it's Thanksgiving here, so have a great Thanksgiving.